Like I was saying, the reason I'm sharing this with you all is because my mom was diagnosed with stage 4 metastatic breast cancer, and she became terminal from it probably around February 2015. Her oncology doctor took me into the room and told me that she was terminal and she had to go home in hospice. And there's really nothing they could do to help. So after doing a lot of thinking and reflection and everything, I decided to take all the information and share it with you all here. So that's my mom here, and that was her on the left-hand side when she was at Mary Kay. They made her a queen for a day, sent her on a shopping spree, and got her a very beautiful dress. And the picture you see in the middle is her picture that she used on her business card. And picture on the far right is my mom and I a few years before she passed. So again, like I said, this following gift that I'm giving to you in honor and loving memory of my mom, Lisa Hill. So I hope you find it valuable and informative, and it helps you start thinking differently. So I want to welcome you all again. The company that I'm involved with, I'm a consultant. It's called the Proctor Gallagher Institute. And what we do is we deal with the results that stick. You know, most of the time you get involved in programs or you try different things and they just don't work. You know, it's good, it's light, but the results don't stick. They're not long lasting, they're not long term. And what we do, the results actually will stick if you do what I'm going to show you right now and you start learning what I'm going to show you. Now, the two people that started the company are Bob Proctor and Sandy Gallagher. That's them on the screen right there. Bob Proctor got started in this in 1961. He started reading a book called Think and Grow Rich, and this guy Ray Stanford told Bob, if you do exactly what I tell you, he said, you can literally have everything you want. And you know, if somebody told you that, what would you think? You know, you would hope it was true, right? Well, Bob didn't believe it, but he believed that Ray believed it. See, he was struggling at the time. Bob Proctor was only this was 1961. He was only earning $4,000 a year, and he owed $6,000 a year. He was working for the fire department in Toronto. And the idea of getting out of debt was far removed from his mind. But he knew that the man who was talking to him believed what he was telling him. And he asked Bob if he had ever studied or read anything. And Bob said, no, I can't read. But Bob also said that wasn't true. He could read, just not very well. And most people, they can't read very well. They stop reading at like a grade 7 level and they never improve from there. So like I said, Ray gave Bob the book Think and Grow Rich. And Ray told Bob, if you read this book and do exactly what I tell you, said you can have anything you want. Well, his income took off like a rocket. You know, he was working with the fire department, like I said, in Toronto, and he was only earning $4,000 a year. Well, he decided to start cleaning office buildings on the side just to earn some extra money. And his income went from $4,000 a year to $175,000 in a year. And in a couple of years, he took it over $1 million a year. Bob ended up opening offices in Toronto, Cleveland, Atlanta, Boston, Montreal, and London, England. And you see his whole life changed, but he couldn't figure out why his life changed. See, Bob was a high school dropout. He had less than 3 months of high school. But he made up his mind he was going to figure out how did he become so successful. And that's what I'm going to show you right now. So I want you to ask yourself if you can relate to any of these 3 lifestyle desires. You see, Bob and Sandy have traveled all over the world, and they've found out that in studying this, that most people don't really want to be wealthy. I mean really wealthy, like lifestyles of rich and famous. And you know, it's interesting, you read about it and you think it'll be nice, but that's not really the desire of most people. What is the desire is that they want to be free of any financial concerns. Okay? That's the number one thing people want. They don't want to have to worry about money, how they're going to pay their bills, or if they can afford the car, take a vacation, buy a new dress or outfit. You know, they don't want to have any debt. They always want to have money in their pocket and to be able to do what they want to do. That's one thing he found. The second thing that he found is that people want to wake up in the morning enthused about how they're going to spend their day. They actually want to enjoy that, they're waking up and they're doing something they really like doing. Now, if you think about that, not a lot of people wake up enthused about how they're going to spend their day. See, a lot of research has been done on this by some pretty strong authorities, and they found out on average it's about 87% of people do not like what they're doing as far as work or occupation or job or career. And that's in any city. The freeways are plugged every morning and every night. See, some people spend an hour or 2 hours going to work in the morning, and then they spend an hour or 2 hours going home, and then they're doing something they don't like. So when you really dig into what people want, they want to wake up every morning and they want to enjoy what they're doing. And the last thing they found is that they want to enjoy relationships with other men and women who are upbeat, enthusiastic, and creatively productive. Now, how many of you can relate to that? It's a nice idea, isn't it? I mean, think about it. You've got no financial concerns. You spend your days doing what you love to do, and you mix with upbeat people. Now, as strange as they may seem, there's not a lot of people who fall in those three areas, and yet anybody can. What I'm going to show you right now is a system. It's a process that Bob Proctor and Sandy Gallagher have put together that's been accepted all over the world. And I guarantee that you can live that way. So ask yourself, would you like to live that way? Being financially free, enjoying how you're waking up, and mixing with people who are positive and upbeat. See, I think everybody would, Now, this is what it all boils down to. You've got to think about what you want in your life, See, we are God's highest form of creation. We should be able to pull that off. And the truth is, you actually can pull that off. You see, what you're reading right now is it's possible to create your own economy. Now that may sound a little strange to you, but you literally can create your own economy. See, it doesn't matter what the news is saying about things going up or down or whatever. You and I have been blessed with mental faculties that go beyond the scope of our imagination. Now, some of this stuff, you probably read about it, you've seen it in self-help books, but it's putting it to work. It's internalizing it. And when you do that, good things start to happen. You see, everybody wants freedom, okay? They want time and money freedom. Now, the 3 points we touched on, that's what they want. You see, most people don't have time freedom, and they don't have money freedom. You'll be amazed how much free time you have when you don't ever have to think about money again. You see, if you got a shortage of money, if you got money problems, an enormous amount of your time is spent thinking about how can I pay this and how can I pay that? Well, how would it feel when you don't have to think about that? The money's there, you can look after it, and you have a lot of free time. Now ask yourself, if you have a lot of free time, how do you want to spend your days? You see, it's all a choice. We don't have to do anything in this life. We choose to do everything. It's a pretty good concept, right? And again, like I said, you'll be amazed how much free time you have when you don't have to think about money. Now, ask yourself, how do results happen in your life? Really think about that. I want you to think about results in your own life. I want you to think mentally, what is the most you've ever earned in a year? Now, I want you to think about 4 or 5 people that you spend a lot of time with and ask yourself if you just met the criteria that we just laid down. Think of your results. How do they happen? Do results just happen? I don't think they just happen. But see, if you analyze most people's behavior, they act as if results just happen in their life. I used to do that for a long, long time until I got involved in this process that I'm going to share with you. I don't know if I've ever given it any serious thought as to how results happen in my life. As I became aware of them, I just kind of dealt with them. You see, do results just happen? I don't think so. Now let's take a closer look at results. All right. And let's look at how the results just happen. Now, there's two things that you need to know if you want to build your business. All right? You need to know where you are, and you need to know where you're going. You know, those are the two things you need to be able to figure out what you're going to do. You know, but you've got to ask yourself, you know, how did I settle for the life that I'm living? How did I start working at the job I'm at right now? Did I settle for my income? You know, did I decide this is the job I wanted to do or the money I'd earned, or did somebody else decide for me? And then look around and ask yourself, how do you spend your days? Who are the people you're associating with? You know, if you could sit down and write out how you'd like to be spending your days, would you be doing the things you're doing? You see, when you think about that and you take a real close look at it, sometimes the answers aren't that pleasant the way your life is currently going right now. Let's see, if the things you need to do to build your business or improve your life, you have to know where you are and where you're going. Now, if that's so simple and it's so obvious, you got to ask yourself, why are so many people stuck? You know, you take a look at your income, where I am and who I'm mixing with, and then you look at where you'd really like to be. You got to ask yourself, you know, why is it so difficult? You know, I used to think that the problem was this right here. I used to ask, why are so many people stuck if it's that simple? I'm like, well, the problem is that they don't have any goals, right? You think of the goals of the problem. Actually, it's not, you know, the problem, and this is really strange, okay? The problem is over here. You see, the problem is where you're at right now and your level of thinking. The problem is paradigms. Now, you got to ask yourself, what are paradigms? If you could explain them. Most people don't know what they are, but they're controlling every aspect of your life. They're controlling how much money you have. They're controlling the kind of job you have, the people you hang out with, who you associate with, everything. But that's something we know very little about, paradigms. Okay, we go all through our educational system. We gather all kinds of information, but we don't know what to do, what we've been taught. We don't know how to do the things we're supposed to do, and we don't know the cause of the problem. Well, the cause of problem is really simple. It's right there. It's paradigms. You know, I could ask you, what's the most you've ever earned in a year? I could ask you what your income is, and when you tell me, I know exactly where your paradigm's at. Do you know that there's a part of the mind that controls your income? You think it's the people you work with, you think it's the company and it's the paycheck and amount of money. That's the obvious answer, but that's not the right answer. See, the real answer that you're earning, the kind of money you're earning, is because it's inside of you. It's the people you associate with. It's the paradigm. It controls your life. See, Bob Proctor, who's a partner with Sandy Gallagher, who helped create the program I want to talk to you about, he was in the movie The Secret. And that movie went all over the world. And The Secret left people the idea that all you have to do is want something. And as Bob points out, that's not true. He said you can want something, but if the paradigm is not in harmony with what you want, you're not going to get it. See, probably the most important word in any language is right there, paradigms. And as you start to understand that, you start to be able to change your life. Now, how many of you can think of things that you'd really like to have or be that just seem to be out of your reach? Think about that. Now, what are paradigms? Paradigms, the mental program that has almost exclusive control over our habitual behavior. And almost all of our behavior is habitual. I want you to think about that. You've got a system. In the morning, you've got a routine from the time you open your eyes until the time you go to sleep at night. And if you live with somebody, you could sit down and you could write out their routine. And if you're wise, you're not going to mess with them because you don't want to mess around with their morning routine, right? Most people, they just wake up and they follow a pattern. And that pattern leads them right through life. You know what we found? It's just like, bang, you can change the pattern just like that, because that's what Bob Proctor did. His pattern changed so dramatically that he spent the 9.5 years trying to figure out what he had done. He had no formal education. Like I said, 2 months of high school. He had no business experience, But when he followed the directions of Ray Stanford and a couple other people and Napoleon Hill's book, his income went from $4,000 a year to $175,000 a year, and then it went over $1 million. He had offices in the United States, Canada, and Great Britain. And one day he asked himself, what the heck happened? Because he was earning over $1 million a year and he couldn't figure out what caused it. See, he had been raised, probably the same as you and I have been raised, that if you're going to do well in business, you got to be really smart. How many of you were raised with that idea? Think about it. If you were raised to do well in business, you had to have a good formal education, right? You see, he only had a couple months high school, and he knew he wasn't very smart. And he didn't have a good job. He owned a company. So he had to ask himself, what the heck happened? Let's see, on the other side of the sheet, Sandra Gallagher came to a seminar in 2006. And she graduated from the university about 20 years before that. She was the #1 banking attorney in the United States. She studied in the best universities in America and Great Britain. She was a banking attorney, a securities attorney. She had done billions of dollars in business, buying banks, selling banks, merging banks, turning them public, high finance. She came out to a program Proctor was running, and she said in all her education, she'd never heard what he was teaching. And she made up her mind that she was going to learn what he was teaching. And then she made up her mind that she was going to learn how to do it. And she was going to be in business with him. And she is in business with him today. And if you ask Bob, he will tell you that his business changed like night and day when she became his partner. He had all this experience on one side. She had all the brains and experience on the other side. And together, they're very, very powerful. See, they understand something about paradigms. And they put a program together to show people how to change paradigms. Now let's take a look here. What are paradigms? All right, paradigms. These are other people's habits. They're a multitude of habits, and they've been passed on to you from one generation to the next. They're not even yours. All right. Have you any idea how the number of things that you do because your mother, your father, or your grandparents did? You know that almost all of our beliefs somebody else originated? Now think about that. You see, and that's the thing. You've got a decision here. That's why people are always asking other people, what do you think I should do? What do you think I should do? It's because they don't think. Now, we go all through our educational system, right? You got everybody in school right now. They're going to college, back to school, and you're never taught how to make a decision. Kids are not taught how to make decisions. That's why they're always asking somebody else. And when they ask somebody, they're probably asking somebody who doesn't think. You see, Bob Proctor points out that Earl Nightingale, a man he worked for a long time, he said that if most people said they were thinking, they would be speechless. And you know something? I think he's right. Why? Because people just react to life. Their phones are dinging. They're just constantly in reaction mode. They're not thinking. And if you listen to what most people are saying, it's fairly obvious they're not thinking, or they'd never say what they're saying. Or if you stand back and you watch them and what the actions they take every day, and they're constantly struggling, they'd never do what they were doing. Now run this around your mind a little bit. Financial success has a lot to do with being in the right place at the right time. But you know something? We're all in the right place at the right time, and we don't make it. You know why? Because it's awareness that's missing. You're not aware that you're in the right place at the right time. Now, think about this. Your ability to earn the good life, enjoy the good life, is based on your ability to have awareness. Okay? It's based on your level of awareness. It's based on what you understand and what you know. Now, I want you to take a look here at this yellow dot. Let this yellow dot represent your level of awareness. Now, you might not spend a lot of time thinking about conscious awareness, but stay with me and it'll all make sense. Let's suppose that dot represents your current level of awareness, your current level of thinking right now. Now consider how your life would change if everything in our life currently comes from our current level of awareness. How would your life change if your awareness just expanded that much? If it just expanded to that degree, how much would your life change? The change would be astronomical. But you see, that's what Proctor did in 1961. He didn't go back to school. He didn't become really smart. I want you to think of some people who are absolutely brilliant and they're broke. They've got degrees running right off their business card and they're broke. And there's some other people you know that aren't very bright and they're very wealthy. You see, we operate from the premises that it's intellect. It's not intellect, it's awareness. It's awareness. All right. Now, if you look here, a person doesn't earn $100,000 a year because they want to earn $100,000 a year. They're earning $100,000 a year because they're not aware of how to earn $100,000 a month. Now, think about that. All right. It's awareness that's missing. And see, that's what you can keep doing with this program. And you get involved in here. You just keep expanding your level of awareness. Now, you're probably asking yourself, well, how do I expand my level of awareness? Well, here's the answer. And this is very important. This is an answer you want to burn into your mind, okay? Here's how you expand your level of awareness. It's effective education combined with professional coaching over a reasonable period of time will expand a person's level of awareness and improve their quality of life. You see, because if you look at somebody and they're doing very, very well, it could be in a sales department or on a different team. You take two people, they're working for the same sales manager, they're selling the same product or service in the same marketplace, and one's doing extremely well and the other one's struggling. Why is that? It's awareness. They're both getting the same training, right? It's just awareness. And you just keep expanding it. We say it's a sad thing when you see a child who's afraid of the dark. I'm going to tell you what's an awful lot sadder than that. It's when you see an adult who's afraid of the light. See, let there be light. Let there be a higher degree of consciousness, because that's what we're after, right? That's what we're going after here. We want a higher degree of consciousness. Now, you see, everything you're seeking, that goal, that dream that's in your heart, everything you're seeking is seeking you. Okay? When you start to study this, the beautiful truth starts to emerge. So you're a spiritual being. And spirit is always for expression and fuller expression and fuller expansion and getting better. Okay? Again, it's awareness that's missing. All right, like I said, Bob Proctor started this in 1961. Those are his mentors. Okay, in the top left-hand side, that's Lloyd Conant, Leland Val Van de Waal, and on the far end is Earl Nightingale. Bob's been at this since 1961. Okay, started over 58 years ago, and he has never stopped studying this. But he's a very ordinary guy. But he's got some very extraordinary information, and he gets very extraordinary results. He's got business that operate all over the world, and he never went back to school. He just kept working and developing his conscious level of awareness. Now, I'm going to share something with you about money here. Okay, there's 3 income earning strategies. All right? There's just 3. There's M1, there's M2, and there's M3. Again, this is how you make money. It's very important. You want to pay attention to this, okay? But see, they don't teach you this in school. It's not an accident, by the way, that they don't do that. There's a reason they don't do that. Okay? Now, if you don't teach your kids, grandkids, family members, spouse, significant other, if you don't teach them how to do this, they're probably not going to learn it from anybody. All right? This is very important. And you know, this is the reason I'm sharing this with you is because they don't teach us in school. The best teachers in the school could actually be the lowest paid, and the worst teachers in the school could actually be the highest paid, right? The school system's broken. I think we all know that. We've got people right now graduating from universities. They're buried in debt and they can't find work, or they're underemployed, okay? And they've got degrees that aren't working for them, right? See, we think education is putting information in. That's not education. The word education comes from the Latin word educo, which means to educe, develop, or to draw out from within. That's what these programs do. They're absolutely incredible. The answer's already inside of you, and we show you how to draw it out. So again, I'm going to show you something right now that Bob stumbled on back in the 1960s. And when he figured this out, his income took off like a rocket. Okay, so the first one is the M1 strategy here. That's where 96% of the people earn their money. Okay, the M1 strategy. It's the one we're taught. You're taught at home and you're taught at school. You go to work, you trade your time for money, right? That's the M1 strategy. You'll get so much an hour, or you'll get a salary for a month or a week or 2 weeks, whatever. Now think, that's a strategy that doesn't work. And you know it doesn't work if you're living paycheck to paycheck. Okay, yet 96% of the population are following that strategy, M1. And if you save any money, and that's part of the program, save money, you're squirreling a little bit away of what you earn at the expense of a life. Think about it. You never drive the car you want, you don't live in the house you want, and you don't take the vacations you want. It's a losing strategy, okay? M1 has an inherent problem, and it's really simple. It's called saturation, which means you run out of time to work each day. It just doesn't work, all right? Now, if you're following that strategy, don't feel bad. I want you to start get really jazzed, because you can actually change it. And you can change it like that, because that's what Bob did. And when he did, he didn't know what he was doing. He was what you would call an unconscious competent. That's where you're doing something, but you don't know why you're doing it, okay? The next strategy is M2. This is an excellent strategy, but it's only used by 3% of the population, okay? And that's where you take money and you invest it. So you've got capital, investing in capital to make more money, all right? Now, this last one, this is very important, M3, okay? This is the strategy that Bob stumbled on in the early 1960s, and it's the one that Sandra Gallagher never learned until 2006 at Bob Proctor's seminar. Although she had handled billions of dollars in business, she was a brilliant attorney, she never learned this strategy, okay? And this is only used by 1% of the population, all right? And this one right here is where that 1% is earning 96% of all the money. You think it's out of balance, but it's not. It's governed by law. It's governed by the same law that governs the growth of your garden. You multiply your time by setting up multiple sources of income. That's what MSI stands for, multiple sources of income. Okay? Now, you're like, well, what do you mean by that? Well, I can actually show you how to turn your annual income into a monthly income. Now think about that. You can actually turn your annual income into a monthly income. And you ask me, well, how do you do that? By setting up multiple sources of income. Do you know that all the wealthy people in the past have had multiple sources of income? See, Bob Proctor tells a story about being in a TV show with Robin Leach. And those of you who are young as I am, you might remember that show. It's called The Lives of the Rich and Famous. And he was on a show with Robin Leach, and they do a lot of sitting around in between scenes, and anybody who works on film knows that. Leach has probably interviewed more wealthy people than anybody alive. Now, he's gone on now, he passed away, but he's interviewed the wealthiest people in the world. And he was telling Bob the wealthiest people he knows, he's never seen them working, never. And yet we grow up with the idea you go to work to earn money. Which happens to be the worst way to earn money, by the way. You don't go to work for money or paycheck. You go to work for satisfaction. And that's why it's important that you love how you spend your days, okay? And if you don't like what you're doing every day, and you're not satisfied with your job or your career, you're getting very little satisfaction out of the way you're spending your days. And life is short, okay? The way you earn money is you earn money by providing service, all right? Now, wealthy people, like I said, have always had multiple sources of income. Now, I want you to think, our world is changing. It's changing like night and day, right? The world's not getting bigger, the world's getting smaller, all right? Now, if you think about it, there's more power in that cell phone that you may be watching us on, or you might have next to you right now. There's more power in a cell phone than was used to take the first person to the moon and back. And remember that. That's awareness that has brought all that to us. Okay, that cell phone you have is just phenomenal. And see, you can have business all over the world. And you're probably thinking, well, how does that work? How do I have business all over the world? I'm going to show you right now. Okay. What you do, okay, it doesn't matter how, okay, but you have to become aware that you can actually do it. All right. You see, when you first drove in a car, rode in a car, and you wanted to get a license, you didn't know how to drive, but you knew you could drive. So you got somebody to teach you how to drive. See, you didn't learn how to drive a car like that, right? When you first sat down at the computer, you didn't know how to operate the computer. You didn't learn right away. Well, you had to have somebody to teach you, right? That's the way it is. Well, why would this be any different? Now, let's take a look here. We're talking about multiple resources, right, of income, MSIs. All right, you can have several of them set up. Okay, now I already mentioned Bob Proctor was what you would call an unconscious competent. He was earning all kinds of money and he didn't know what he was doing different. He also found out later that most people who are highly successful are unconscious competents. They are not aware of why they do so well. So you'll find managers and they don't know why one person is more effective than the other. What they don't understand is paradigms. All right. Well, Bob was on a plane. He was going from Toronto to Kuala Lumpur, Malaysia. It's a 25-hour flight going one way. When Bob's in the air and he's traveling, he looks at that as his time. And as he says, he works with a pen and a notepad and he thinks of words and numbers, right? So he wrote down $1 million on a notepad and he started to think, how did he earn $1 million? What was he doing that was so different from everybody else? And he couldn't figure it out. And then finally it dawned on him. He said they don't just have one source of income, that they've got a number of sources of income. You see, he had done this. He was cleaning offices as janitorial service and he passed out in the street. He was doing all the work himself. He thought the answer was clean more offices. And if you want more money, he was doing more work than he could afford. And he passed out in the street and the ambulance came there and they were going to take him to the hospital, but he finally got away from him. And he started thinking, he said, I'm doing something wrong here. He said, and then a little voice in his head said, if you can't clean all of them, don't clean any of them. So he got all dressed up and he got other people cleaning offices for him. And that's when he started to open offices in Toronto, Montreal, Boston, Cleveland, Atlanta, London, England. He had stumbled on multiple sources of income, but he wasn't aware of what he was doing that was so different. But when he was on that plane, he thought they've all got more than one source of income. So when he landed in Kuala Lumpur, he phoned Mark Victor Hansen. He was the guy who started the Chicken Soup for the Soul book. And they called Jack Canfield. They got together and they said, let's teach people how to earn $1 million by setting up multiple sources of income. And that's where the Chicken Soup for the Soul idea came from, $1 million idea. See, they've earned millions of dollars because they thought of the idea. You see, ideas are worth a fortune. Now, when you have income coming in from various parts of the world, you can actually have income coming into you while you're sleeping. You see, when you're getting up on this side of the world, when you're going to sleep on this side of the world, there's people on the other side of the world waking up. And you can have business all over the world. You know, you can actually make more money, like I said, while you're sleeping than when you can when you're awake. Okay, the first thing that comes to your mind right now is, well, how do you do that? Well, you have to become aware of how you do it. Okay, and the way you become aware of how to set up these multiple sources of income, that you start mixing with people who are doing it and who are already established and getting going with it. You see, the process we've got and the people we associate with, we set up books, we set up groups like Facebook groups, and the people that get involved in these programs, they get together and they mastermind with each other. Think of how exciting that would be. You're mixing with people who are thinking these ideas and working with these ideas. It could be transformative, right? Well, it is. And you can just keep adding sources of income. And you're probably thinking, well, gosh, I wish I could do all that right now. Well, you can, but it takes a little time. You see, you didn't learn how to drive a car overnight, right? If you look at most women that have their makeup on when they first started using makeup, right? Do you think they'd put it on in the dark or something, right? It's all over the place. They had to learn how to put their makeup on. You know, you have to learn how to get dressed. You look at a little kid getting dressed, right? And they put their pants over their head. I mean, they have to become aware of how to get dressed. So you have to become aware of how to set up multiple sources of income. Okay. Now, the first thing you're asking is like, well, are some of them all the same? No, no. Some of them may not work. You may start one and it may die, but the others will keep going, right? Some are big and some are small, right? But here's the thing, they all flow into the middle there. They all flow into your bank account. That'd be pretty neat, huh? Having all different sources of income coming to you, right? Now, understand this. Your bank will take any kind of money that you make all over the world and they'll change it for you, right? They'll change it any currency you want. It's pretty cool, huh? You see, Napoleon Hill said, when riches begin to come, they come in so quickly and in such great abundance that one wonders where they've been hiding during all those lean years, right? It's true. It's absolutely true. You see, this is a quote I love right here. It says, do just once what other people say you can't do, and you will never pay attention to their limitations again. Right? Do just once what people say you can't do, and you'll never pay attention to their limitations again. You know, all you got to do is ask yourself, how did we get in the air? How did we start flying? You know, for centuries, man had been trying to fly. You have two young bicycle mechanics in Dayton, Ohio, the Wright brothers. They introduced us to this new kingdom of flight. Have you any idea what their neighbors thought of them? They must have thought they're out of their mind. Or what about Edison in his basement making an incandescent light bulb? His own wife probably thought he had lost it. You see, all breakthroughs have been made by people that think a little different. You want a breakthrough in your life? You want to start changing? You need to start thinking different. Okay? Now, if you want to be a little more comfortable traveling, you'll probably invest thousands, tens of thousands of dollars in a car, an automobile. You'll probably invest in an automobile that you don't need because you already have one. But see, you're conditioned to trade in your car, get another car, get a better car. Are you conditioned to take part of your hard-earned money and invest it in yourself so you can become aware of how to get a better income, to multiply your income? Probably not, huh? You see, when I suggest something like that, something inside your mind right now is probably saying, oh, don't do it. You see, this is Albert Einstein's quote right here. He said, everything is energy, and that's all there is to it. If you match the frequency of the reality you want, you cannot help but get that reality. It can be no other way. This is not philosophy, this is physics, okay? Now, if you take a look at yourself, you're really a mass of energy, and you function on a high frequency, right? Now, if you look at your hand right now, just from the tip of your finger of your hand all the way to where your wrist starts right there, there's enough potential energy in that hand right now to light up a building for nearly a week. You have 11 million kilowatt hours per pound locked up in the electrons of your body. And if you put the body in front of an infrared television camera in a completely dark room, you'll see it as a glistening, radiating, gleaming form. It's absolutely phenomenal. You know, I can actually pick up the energy from somebody and read it. I didn't know how originally, but now I can. You're probably asking, well, how can you do that? I can do that, okay? The reason I can do that is I can feel the energy coming off somebody's body. And as the images change in their mind, their energy will change, their mood will change. You see, if you've ever been with somebody and all of a sudden their mood changes, you can feel it, right? Now, how do you know these things? You become aware of them. You see, was I born with that potential to be able to read people? No. No, I wasn't born with that ability. I was born with that potential, but I developed the ability. There's a big, big difference. You see, your potential is astronomical. Like I said, you're a mass of energy and you function on frequencies. And you see, it's all about the mind, right? It's all about your marvelous mind. Absolutely beautiful concept. I want you to take a look at something here. I want you to take a look at, let's take a look at your mind and your paradigm, like we were talking about earlier, okay? You see, in 1934, San Antonio, Texas, that was the year Bob Proctor was born. There was a doctor named Dr. Thurman Fleet, and he was very involved in the healing arts. He was also very disgusted with the healing arts because he said, all we're doing is treating the symptom. We're not treating the cause of the problem. He said the problem is that the mind is an activity. The mind is not a thing. He said if there's a problem in the body, it originates in the mind. He said, but how do you treat the mind? We don't even know what it looks like. Well, Dr. Thurman Fleet said, I'm going to create a picture of the mind. And he drew this picture right here. Okay? Now, if you look at that, it's just two circles and a couple of lines, right? But we're going to let the big circle represent the head, the conscious mind. We're going to let the bottom half of that circle represent the subconscious mind and the body. Okay, this is what we call the stick person. Dr. Thurman Fleet developed it because we need a picture of the mind, right? Bob Proctor's been studying this every day since 1961. And he will tell you that picture right there is the most valuable idea that he has ever learned. And I'm going to tell you, if you get involved in this program and you become aware enough to invest in yourself, because that's how I started in this, and my life and my thinking have changed like night and day with that drawing of the mind, you're going to realize that's the most important thing as well. Now, let's think about this for a moment. School gave us knowledge, right? However, school never taught us how to alter our old paradigms. And therefore, we frequently do not do what we already know how to do. So you've got superior knowledge, right? Inferior results is going to cause frustration and confusion, right? So here's what happens, right? When you go to school, they load a bunch of information up in the top part of your head. Like I said, that's the conscious mind, right? And they want to know what you know, so they give you a test. And if you can remember what they tell you on the test, right? If you can remember what they tell you, you pass the test. But isn't it funny? We got people leaving school right now with all kinds of information, and their results would indicate they don't know anything. You see, you find somebody who has very little information, and their results say that they got to be really smart. You see, the paradigm is in this part of the mind, right there, and that's what causes your results. And if you're going to change your results, you're going to have to change your paradigm. The paradigm is in the subconscious mind. It has nothing to do with the books and all the stuff that they're teaching you in school. It's called conditioning. You see? And you're not going to be able to change your results until you can't change the income or money or the way your life is. You're not going to change anything permanently until you change the paradigm. All right? That's called conditioning. Now think about it. Why do you think you look so much like your relatives? You look like your relatives because of the programming. So you're genetically programmed. See, we know that 50% of your DNA comes from your mother, and 50% of your DNA comes from your father. And the same on your dad's side, right? And it boils down to your DNA has been passed down from one generation to the next. That's why you look like your relatives. But you see, the DNA is a programming. Can you change it? Yes, you can change it. You can change anything. You have to be aware of how to change it. And when you change the paradigm, that's when your results are going to start changing. Okay? And if you want to change them, like I said, you've got to change them where they start, which is in the subconscious mind. Right? Now, if you got a sincere desire to change your results and you're ready to start a new page in your life, we've got a program that'll help you. Okay, it's a mind game, right? But like I said, the top part is a conscious mind, the stick person. The bottom part is a subconscious mind, and then you have the body, right? Now the body moves into action and it produces results, okay? But most of the time right now, you're getting results you don't want. See, you've actually got a goal and you've got a dream, right? Right there. That's the goal you want, not where you're at in life. You want a better life. But the thing is, you're stuck right here, right? And your dream is way up here. And so you can't see how to go from where you are to where you want to go, right? See, it's a mind game. You have to understand the mind. And when you do that, you'll start living a good life. You'll start changing everything. Now, if you look at this right here, there's three kinds of goals. There's A goals, which is what you already know how to do it. There's B goals, which goals you think you can do it. But see, in order for you to grow, you got to set a C-type goal. It's what you really want to do, right? You don't know how you're going to do it, but you know you will do it. Those are the kind of goals you've got to go after. You got to go after the goals that are going to stretch you and make you grow, all right? Now, Joel Barker said this quote. He said, to be able to shape your future, you have to be willing and able to change your paradigm, right? That's Joel Barker. You see, this is a quote here from Steve Jobs. He said, every morning I look in the mirror and I ask myself, if today were the last day of my life, would I want to do what I'm about to do today? And whenever the answer's been no for too many days in a row, I know I need to change something. You know, just in reading that quote right there, if today was my last day on this earth, would I want to do what I'm doing right now, sharing this information with you? Yeah, this is exactly what I want to do. Exactly. You see, this is another quote right here. This is R. Buckminster Fuller. He's the one who developed the geodesic domes back in the 70s. He said, you never change things by fighting the existing reality. He said, to change something, you've got to build a new model that makes the existing model obsolete. All right. So here we have an R. We've got two H's and a W, right? Now, I want you to let that first H represent your health. The second H is represent your happiness. And the last one is represent your wealth. Okay. And that's what produces your results. And see, Ray Stanford told Bob, he said, you're only earning $4,000 a year right now. And he owes $6,000. This was in 1961. I mean, that was a lot of money back then, being in debt, $6,000. But Ray Stanford gave him that book, Think and Grow Rich by Napoleon Hill. He said, if you'll read this book every day and you do exactly what I tell you to do, he said, your life can change. And Bob did that. He followed the direction and he kept reading that book. And he went from owing $6,000 a year and barely earning $4,000. He went to earning $175,000 in a year. In a couple years, he went to over $1 million. This was in the 60s, okay? And that's what this program is designed to do. It's designed to change your paradigm so you can start living the life you want to live. You start earning the money you want to live. Earning the money you want, living the life you want, and actually being excited and happy about getting up in the morning. All right? Now, does this work? Well, here's what some of our clients say about us. Okay, this is Paul Hutsey. He was a former vice president for sales of Prudential Life of America. Right? He said, thanks to Bob, my team went from ranking 163rd company-wide in commissions to number 11 within the first year and to number 1 by the 5th year. This program is great because you can have Bob Proctor in your office every day, anytime you want. You just turn it on. It's another guy right here, Brandon Dangerfield. He said, I've been in corporate America for over 20 years, and never have I come across a program that inspires and equips people to be and do their best in all aspects of their life. This program is a must for teams and individuals to achieve big goals. You got this guy, Dan Vick. He's a broker and owner of Remax in Kansas City, right? That's his testimonial right there. If you're willing to commit at least 12 weeks to changing your life, you can be astounded by what you're going to accomplish. Okay? This program is a result of Bob's lifetime quest to learn more about the mind. It's not your typical motivation, right? We all understand how the mind operates, and until we do, and we take the time to really think about our future, things will never change. Using the principles of this program, I've accomplished goals in 2009 that I wouldn't have dreamed of possible prior to the completion of this program, right? That's Dan Vick. This guy's Mark Thomas right here, okay? I just want to skip down to an important part of this one at the last sentence there. It says, I would use some of the ideas, but then when things hit crunch time, I generally migrated back to my own habits, his old habits, right? His paradigm. And then he finally got involved in this program, right? And it peels back the layers of professional and personal layers of participants to get at the heart of change, okay? So those are just some testimonials right there. Now, you're only limited in this life. You're only limited by weakness of attention and poverty of imagination. That's it. That's the only thing holding you back. Okay. And James Allen, you know, He said right here that, the greatest discovery of his generation is that human beings can alter our lives by altering the attitudes of mind. As you think, so shall you be. Now ask yourself, are you ready to break free from those chains that are keeping you stuck right now? Keeping you where you're at in life? Ask yourself this question right here. How frequently would you take a vacation if money was not an issue? Ask yourself that. All right. And then ask yourself, how much money would it take for you to earn to eliminate all financial concerns or worries in your life? Think about that. To go from debt, struggling, paycheck to financial independence. All right. You see, only 3% of people are going to take action and change their life from hearing this. That's it. 97% of people hear this information, they won't do anything. They'll just keep living the same life they are, keep getting the same results, keep struggling. And that's okay. This isn't for everybody. It's for people who are committed. All right? If that sounds like you, and you like what I've shared, and I barely scratch the surface, it's time for you to make a decision. All right? It's time for you to make a decision. What you'll need to do is you'll need to contact me, your name, first, last name, email, the cell phone number, okay? Send your contact information to me. What's my contact info? Right here. That's my email. readyfireaim247@gmail.com. That's my email. If you're serious about this, send me the information and we'll sit down and talk. We'll see if this is a good fit for you. We'll see if this is something that's going to work, and we'll see if you're committed. It's not for everybody. It may or may not work for you. It depends where you're at in life. Again, that's my email, readyfireaim247@gmail.com. And why do I call Ready, Fire, Aim? Why did I call it that? Because most people in life, they're getting ready, they're aiming, and then they never fire. So the reason I call it Ready, Fire, and then Aim is because you get ready, you take the shot, go after it, make mistakes, learn, and then you adjust your aim. And you got to do that every day, 24/7. All right? So again, I want to thank everybody, and I want to appreciate you being on this webinar and taking your time to listen to me. I hope it's been valuable. Like I said, this was a gift that I wanted to give my mom, but I couldn't give to her. And by the time I learned all this stuff, it was too late. She was already terminal. But I just shared everything with you, right? I'm giving this gift to you in memory of my mom, right? For you to start changing your life, if you're committed to do it. If you are committed, contact me. Again, that email, readyfireaim247@gmail.com. All right. And like I said before, on that other video, we take the kink out of the hose. If you've ever taken a water hose in front of your yard and went to water your front yard or wash your car and the water's barely trickling out, the reason being is because there's a kink in the hose, right? When you remove that kink, the water flows freely. Well, right now you got a kink in the hose, probably. It's your thinking. It's your paradigm. It's the way you were raised, right? You weren't taught any of this stuff. You weren't taught about multiple sources of income. You weren't taught about the stick person, the subconscious mind and all that, and how to shift the paradigm. Well, this program will help you out, okay? Again, I look forward to hearing from you all. Again, my email is readyfireaim247, okay, @gmail.com. All right. Thank you for your time.